Do you think that Michael Phelps, who set all these records, won all these medals, do you think he feels like a failure if he doesn't break his world record every day? Because that's his personal best? Probably not. Hey dancers, it's Kirsten. Welcome back to Twin Talks Ballet. If you don't know me or you're new here, first, this is your place on the internet to get practical guidance on how to flourish as a dancer. Second, a little bit about me is that I am a former professional ballet dancer and now a mindset coach for ballet dancers, which means I help dancers one-on-one through these videos and in group settings to adopt a healthy mindset rooted in confidence that allows them to perform their best while also enjoying the process of their ballet training and career. So today I thought I'd pull in more of that mindset coachy side of things and let you in on the 4 mental struggles that I see the most often in the dancers that come to work with me one-on-one. Not only am I going to let you know what these top struggles are just for the sake of, I don't know, airing dirty laundry, not at all. It is for the purpose of helping you to identify if this is something maybe you've normalized in your experience as a dancer, and to recognize that this is actually something that is impacting you. Maybe you don't need me to tell you that at all, but what I think is going to be most valuable about this video is I'm going to break down some of the common roots of these issues, which I would call symptoms, that many dancers are experiencing, so that you can leave this video with an awareness of maybe where some of these tendencies and struggles are coming from, so you are better equipped to actually acknowledge and resolve the root rather than just feeling like your self-critical thoughts are the problem. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, before I actually get into the rest of the video, I do want to invite you to join the next Empowered Dancer Masterclass. This is a monthly 90-minute experience. It's a virtual call where you can come join me live for an hour and a half and receive powerful instruction on one aspect of how to overcome a common struggle that many dancers face mentally, whether that is a low amount of confidence, finding that you are struggling with perfectionism and constantly holding yourself back. Maybe you don't feel unique or different and you don't know actually what you have to offer as a dancer. So you have a hard time identifying your strengths and walking into auditions with confidence. These are all reasons why I wanted to create the Empowered Dancer Masterclass. I wanted to create a monthly space, a rhythm that can be a part of your normal life as a dancer, where you can come receive powerful and actionable, transformative instruction on how to create really positive change in one of these areas you may have been struggling with, so that you can actually do things like perform without intense stage fright, or performance anxiety as it's more formally called. Or you can also walk into your auditions with confidence. You can feel joyful in the middle of class rather than being really taken down by frustration and self-destructive thoughts because you made a couple of mistakes, for example. So I created this to help you to really have that space to get that teaching, and also to have time to be walked through questions and exercises that if you didn't join, you probably wouldn't really create time to do for yourself. And then also at the end of every masterclass, there's time for Q&A and on-the-spot coaching so that you can actually ask your questions around this subject that we'll be talking about. So even if you can't join live every month, I love that every conversation is recorded, so you can subscribe to the Empowered Dancer Masterclass and get access with your subscription to every recording as they happen. As time goes along, this masterclass only becomes more and more valuable because you'll be able to access the recordings, though I do hope you join live. So I hope to see you in the next Empowered Dancer Masterclass. Click the link in the description to learn more, see what next month's masterclass is all about, see also what the past masterclasses were about, so you can get access when you join to those past recordings, and I hope to see you there. All right, so let's talk about this first struggle, which is, no surprise, perfectionism. Particularly how I see this showing up, it's having such intensely high standards for themselves that first, they rarely question the source of where these standards are coming from. For example, this super high standard could be something that actually kind of is maybe sneaking beneath your radar a little bit. It could be that really common notion that you always have to be performing better than yesterday. You know, it's kind of that novel idea that you're just competing against yourself. But even in that high standard, the issue isn't so much that desire for excellence, but rather the very rigid approach to, if you don't perform as well as you have before, then you're a failure. You start having these really self-critical thoughts that attack your character as a person. You start name calling yourself. You start actually doubting your future because of something like you were doing triple pirouettes yesterday and now you're stumbling through doubles today. And it creates this spiral of negative thoughts that like totally takes you down through the rest of the class. So in this theme of perfectionism, what I often see is, again, I want to highlight so that you can ask yourself, do I have rigid standards? First, what are the standards I'm holding myself to? Second, where did I get those standards? Third, what are those standards supposed to give me? Fourth, how helpful is it really to hold myself unwaveringly to that standard every day? So that kind of gives you this opportunity to kind of question what the real goal is all about, because there's a hoped for reward behind every goal. So it's not really that the triple pirouette in and of itself has any particular meaning. It's just the meaning we assign to it. So if you take a moment to question, where is that goal coming from? And then also you can question, what does it mean about me if I don't achieve that goal every day? Is it you're a failure, you are an imposter, you don't belong there, you'll never be good enough? I really want dancers to become aware that it's not the goals in and of themselves that will make us feel amazing if we get them or whatever. It's the meaning that we are assigning to these goals and the meaning we are assigning to ourselves if we don't get there. So I like to share this visual with my mindset coaching clients that oftentimes our goals, it's not like they're always a good thing or they're always a bad thing. It's the question of, is that standard you're holding yourself to working for you? How is it working for you? Could there be a better way? And what I find myself sharing is this metaphor of, are you like a, like a pole jumper, vaults, pole, what is it? The people who like run, and then they jump over a stick and they kind of like flip backwards. It's in the Olympics. Comment below what that sport is. I love watching it. But anyway, imagine that you are like a pole vault jumper. Let's call them that. I know I'm just embarrassing myself here, but here we go. Imagine that you do that sport and before, like as your warm up, you set your bar to your personal best record. And maybe the first time when you don't make it over, you're a little agitated, but you're like, okay, let me try it again. That bar is set at your personal best, or the best you did yesterday. And you do it again, and this time you crash right down on top of that pole. It comes crashing down, and you start name calling to yourself, and you feel totally defeated. You feel like a failure. And I want to pause and ask, how helpful is it to set your expectation at your personal best in such a rigid fashion without really giving yourself a chance to see what the day has to offer? Maybe it's not about jumping over your personal best. Maybe it's about doing that background work of practicing your box jumps to get a higher jump. So it might look like you're taking less action or it's not as glamorous. You don't experience that glory of the quadruple pirouette, but having that mental adaptability to measure your success differently according to the purpose of the day and not be like I'd love to ask this question. Do you think that Michael Phelps, who set all these records, won all these medals, do you think he feels like a failure if he doesn't break his world record every day because that's his personal best? Probably not. That's just completely unreasonable. So I want to draw out the awareness that there is a benefit to setting push goals, things that stretch you. But in order for that to be a healthy, constructive thing for you, we need to also get you to a place where you need to choose to be in a place where you have that adaptability to recognize that success, your identity as a person, what you see for your future can't be threatened by doing the background work, by having days where you're wobbling and you're making a bunch of mistakes. And instead of throwing those experiences away, saying, okay, maybe today is about learning how to get better at moving forward through mistakes. Then it's an opportunity all of a sudden that's working for you, but you wouldn't be in that place if you're so consumed with beating yourself up over this perfect standard that you haven't reached that day. The second most common mental struggle that I see dancers face, especially the ones I work with, is being intensely self-critical. Now, one of the roots behind this issue that I see most commonly might actually surprise you. This is the struggle where I find some of the greatest levels of self-sabotage. Let me explain. So many dancers actually have this foundational belief that in order to push themselves forward, they have to have really high standards and they have to be really rough and rigid and like militaristic with themselves in order to have the motivation to keep pushing forward. And there's this belief that if you actually are adaptable and maybe you change your focus for the day from super hard work until you're at the point, like your breaking point, to maybe your approach for the day is a little bit more of like a nurturing approach. You take a softer, more efficient approach to your technique. Oftentimes dancers have this belief and this fear that showing adaptability like that, or having self-compassion, or, you know, just having flexibility in your approach with that intention of doing what you need to do to take care of yourself, to thrive, that there's this underlying belief there that oftentimes dancers don't express, which is, if I have that adaptability or I'm not super hard on myself, I will get lazy and I will fall behind, or I'll get out of shape. Like there's this very fear-based mentality and fear-based belief system that actually causes us to push ourselves way past the point of it being helpful. So I notice with a lot of the dancers who are extremely hard on themselves and self-critical, there are beliefs like, for example, if a teacher says something complimentary, oh, they must have not have seen all the stuff that I did wrong, or that's not very helpful for me. I need someone looking out for me to show me what I'm doing wrong so I can fix it, you know? With these rigid approaches to ballet that are profoundly focused on what is wrong, what I notice is dancers actually have this subconscious pattern that's trained into them and that we willingly adopt as well, which is this pattern of using negativity and to focus on the fear of becoming out of shape, on the fear of falling behind. We use that fear of not wanting that result, that motivation of, I don't want to be that. I don't want to go to that place. I don't want to be lazy and fall behind, in order to push ourselves forward. This is a pattern I see all the time. We use this fear of a negative result we don't want to push ourselves forward towards this vague result. Like, I want to be a good dancer. I want to be the best dancer I can be, which is extremely vague, by the way. Or even, I want to be a professional dancer. At what kind of company would you be happy? What kind of company would be most likely to really appreciate your unique talents as an artist? Why don't you focus on the specificity and how much you desire that specific positive goal, rather than giving so much negative energy, which isn't sustainable, to pushing yourself harder, faster, stronger by focusing on the fear of getting behind, the fear of not having a contract. So I noticed that this is actually a pattern that dancers are so accustomed to use that negative motivation to push them forward, that of course, if you're having that mindset, you will fear letting it go. You'll fear, if I let it go and start being positively motivated, will I be lazy? Well, okay, that's an understandable fear, but how much time are you giving yourself to actually contemplate what positive evidence is out there that this positive motivation actually works? It's actually sustainable. When you feel better as a result of this, you actually dance better. But so often dancers will shut down that possibility because of fear. And then even, here's where the self-sabotage comes in, even when things are going really well for them, I notice they kick back into that self-sabotaging behavior by creating this worry of, what if I get kicked out of this piece? What if, oh my gosh, what if I get injured? What if I don't have a contract next season? What if I'm not good enough? What if, you know? And that worry comes up because when you're doing well, you're out of that familiar pattern. You're out of that fuel of fear that will push you forward. And when you're out of that familiar fuel, you need to get more of that. So how do dancers do it? They get even more hard on themselves. They find things to worry about. They find things to not like about themselves. They're focusing on the negative. They're focusing on the fear of the future to push themselves harder. And this is how dancers they have a very skewed view of what they're actually doing well. You're not able to see it because you've trained your mind to only look at what's bad. And obviously I'm sharing an extreme example, but I want you to think, are you seeing little bits of this pattern in your own life? And I want to encourage you to, now that you notice it, consciously make the choice each time you notice it to focus on a specific positive outcome that you want to work towards. Know why it matters to you. Imagine how you'll feel when you have it, and take a second or minutes, it might take at first, to redirect your mind to feel a positive compulsion towards a positive result you want to choose to create. By the way, dancers, if you are hearing me describe some of these struggles and you are strongly relating to one or several of them, I want you to encourage you to seek support and help in this area, particularly from someone who understands your goals, your lifestyle, and your context as a dancer. And I want you to know that I offer that support to dancers as a mindset coach. Coming from my background as a professional ballet dancer, I really deeply understand how it is very normal to struggle with these things. So if you and I are to work together, you will experience no shame, no judgment, no negative feelings added on to this experience, and rather an experience of being nurtured and actually helped towards getting freedom from these negative, destructive patterns that keep you insecure, burnt out, constantly worried, not feeling good enough, all this stuff that steals from your joy and your success as a dancer. So if you are relating to some of these points, I highly encourage you to click the link below to visit my website, kirstenkemp.com, learn more about my mindset coaching services that I offer for dancers. And if it seems like something that you would really be interested in exploring and seeing, could this really help me? Book a one-on-one 30-minute call. It's a coaching consultation. You and I will discuss what you're challenged by right now, what your goals are. I'll describe more of how I can help you through those challenges in the coaching process so you can decide if this kind of support would be great for you at this point in your journey. So just want you to know that support is out there, and I would love to be that support for you. The third most common struggle I want to mention is the tendency to really crumble under pressure and wonder, why do I just shrink back? Why is it that I dance beautifully when it's just regular old class, and then when the artistic director walks in, or it's time to audition, or it's time to go on stage, I just totally freak out and crumble and I don't dance as well as I could. So I see this a lot, and I've certainly experienced my fair share of this as a ballet dancer. And one thing that I notice really contributing to this struggle in general is actually this belief that in some way that really matters, you're not good enough. Or there's like a fear of judgment, a fear of mistakes. A lot of times I see this really excessive amount of importance being placed on mistakes as defining you as good or bad, rather than your response to mistakes positively identifying you as a mature, good dancer. And so basically these fears around not being good enough, about being found out as not belonging in the class or not being what you think you are, this fear actually leads to a reorientation of meaning around what these experiences, like performing or being seen by a choreographer or director, what they're really about. So instead of it being an experience where you can share what you have to offer, or an opportunity that could open more doors for you that wouldn't have been opened if they weren't watching, instead of it being meant that way in your mind, it means this is where I have to prove myself. This is where I have to just go out and do it. I can't make mistakes. So notice how these are two very different modes of interpreting one event. And again, these events in and of themselves don't really have meaning other than what we choose to assign to them. So First off, reframing what these experiences mean. It's from maybe I have to prove myself, I have to do my best, or else I won't get that part, or else I'll embarrass myself, or else I'll be judged, whatever it is. Reframing that story to something that is much more constructive and one that lowers the sense of pressure that's a really great start to being able to engage with these things in a way that allows you to perform at a pretty good level. Maybe not your absolute best, but that really takes the edge off and it helps you to relax just enough to perform in the way that you're capable of. The other thing is that oftentimes it's really necessary to do a lot of work around vulnerability. Not only that, like being okay and surrendering to the fact that people will see you when you're not at your best. And you have to be willing and feel safe enough to let people see that, so that you're also giving them the chance to see very honestly in a raw way what you actually really have to offer. So that brings me to the next part, which is I also, when I'm helping dancers through this fear that holds them back, I also often really acknowledge and have a conversation around, what do you believe you have to offer as a dancer? And oftentimes that is a very scary and tough conversation for dancers to engage with, because the first thing I might ask is, what do you believe some of your strengths are as a dancer? And I get that reaction of like, ooh, let's see. And it takes a while for the answer to come out, and I can see in their eyes, there's like an idea and then it's rejected, an idea and it's judged. Maybe it's adagio, no, my legs aren't the highest in the class. Maybe it's artistry, no, I get that comment that I'm stiff too often. It's, this constant dequalifying of like, I can't say I'm good at that, I can't own that, or that doesn't make me special. And then the answer I often get is, my work ethic, or I have a really good attitude. Those things are important, but let's be real. Those one or two things alone doesn't actually encapsulate the true value you have to offer, and it certainly doesn't make you unique. As tough as that sounds, I'm able to say that because I also believe every single dancer has a lot to offer it doesn't have much to do with technique. And what you have to offer provides a lot of value. And when you're very aware of the value you have to offer and why it matters and why it's important and how it affects who you're performing around, then you're able to actually have authentic confidence walking into an audition or a performance. It's kind of like if a salesperson really does not believe in the product they have to offer, they're trying to sell, they won't sell it very well, because on the inside they're having a lot of internal conflict that will come out in their body language. That's kind of like, oh, it's okay if you don't buy that, or yeah, it's okay, it's probably not meant for you anyway, whatever. Versus when a person who sells products that they really believe in, it's like they just have this passion that just makes you want to buy what they have. And dancing is a lot like that. So one thing I love helping dancers with is actually uncovering what they really have to offer uniquely and why it matters. Which, by the way, is something I am covering in the next Empowered Dancer Masterclass. Again, if you haven't checked that out, check it out in the description below and register to either join live, or if you're watching this after it's already happened, register and you can get the recording. You know what, dancers? I was going to share 4. This is going to be a little bit of a tease. Sorry. I'm going to leave it at those 3 because I think those really encapsulate a lot. I was also going to talk about, I'll give it a brief honorable mention. I do see a lot of dancers struggling with losing passion for ballet and feeling a little bit burnt out, but not knowing what to do with their future and what their feelings right now mean for their next steps as an artist. So I do help dancers to really unpack a lot of those fears and start to envision a future they're excited about and take those baby steps to uncovering what are the next career steps that are best for them. And having that partnership in that very sensitive time where you're going through a subject that's really, really sensitive and scary, like answering that question, maybe is it time to stop dancing? What if I'm not a professional? What else would I do with my life? Those are really scary. So having someone to talk you through those thoughts and come to resolution, talking especially with someone who understands where you're coming from and is not going to push you in one way or another based off of their bias, that is really, really important. So if that is something you're struggling with, definitely reach out for support. I'd love to help you through that. So dancers, I really hope that this video was very insightful for you. I'd love to hear what you got from it in the comments. And yes, go ahead and like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe so you can be notified. Oh, you actually have to hit the notification bell to be notified of next week's video, but I hope you'll subscribe and stick around. And sayonara. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.